Hey, it's Kim Commando Today, your daily podcast to keep you up to date with all things digital and beyond. And I'd love to have you be a part of our podcast. You can make an appointment to speak with me. Just head over to commando.com, and on the top right, there's a button that says Email Kim. Fill that out, and that's it. So have you seen the Cybertruck lately?
Yeah, I see them all over now. It's really weird.
I know, but it's kind of like one of those things, like, you know, when you want to see it, then you see a ton of them. But
That's
meanwhile,
true.
if you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't see anything.
That's true.
I do that, like, if I'm looking for a new car, all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, there's one. There's one. Did you get a new car yet?
No, not yet. I'm still driving the old radio station mobile.
Do people, like, wave at you?
Constantly.
That's nice.
Jennifer and I were walking out of a grocery store to get in the car, and this, like, 17-year-old kid runs up and goes, "Are you Beth?" And she's like, "No."
No, I'm not Beth. Sorry about that. The reason why I bring up Cybertruck is that if you do buy one, and I think you should,
Yeah.
is that you better really, really, really love the truck. Really.
Okay.
100%.
Well, yeah, it's super expensive.
Well, because inside the contract that you sign when you purchase the truck is the clause that basically says that you agree not to sell the Cybertruck for at least 1 year, or else you are going to be fined $50,000.
Is that legal? I mean, can they legally do that? They can take me to court?
Yes. Yeah, for $50,000. So if you are even thinking about buying a Cybertruck, you better make sure that, like, you really, 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 that you're going to love this Cybertruck, because you're not going to want to spend $50,000 so you can sell it.
Well, not after you spent $100,000 on the Cybertruck to begin with. I actually saw a YouTuber. It was a car YouTuber, bought a Cybertruck 2 days after it was delivered. He just wanted to see. So he took it to CarMax to see how much he could get if he sold it to them 2 days after the release. And they were only going to give him $75,000. So it depreciated $25,000 right off the lot.
Boom, just like that.
Now you throw in the $50,000 fine?
It's awful. And you see, it's this transference of intellect and knowledge that happens every single podcast, which is why you should never, ever miss a podcast. In case you're just like, well, what's the name of the podcast? It's called Kim Commando Today, because it's really funny how this works. I'm Kim Commando.
Oh,
yes.
Hi, Kim.
Hi. And then, of course, joining me is my co-host, Andrew Babinski. Hello there, Andrew.
Good morning, afternoon, midday. I don't know. Where are you? What part of the day is it?
I'm in California. We're on the same time zone, ding dong.
All right. Well, then good afternoon, Kim. I have a story coming up today about the 2024 election and AI chatbots.
Very good. Very good. We are going to be talking about what happened at the WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference. I have the whole lowdown. I've been watching it, and I was thinking as I was watching it, I should be more like the presenters that Apple has. Because, you know, we wouldn't just be talking like this. We would say, coming up, we have an innovative story that is going to change the world forever.
Forever.
And it's Siri, unlike you've ever seen before.
Wow.
I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I can't do that.
She can't do that. She can't change the world. You're wrong.
That was classic. That's almost like we tried to put that bit together.
We couldn't. If we tried to do that, we couldn't.
Amazing. Amazing. Hey, if you haven't already, make sure that you like, comment, share, follow our podcast. And make sure that you also get our free newsletter. Sign up over at getkim.com. Once again, that's getkim.com. All right, let's get this tech party started already with the 5 top things you need to know. It's happening in the techverse right now as we speak. And I mentioned it. It's the WWDC. That's the Worldwide Developers Conference. And I watched it. It was almost an hour and a half.
Ooh.
Really like crazy stuff. So let me just walk you through it. They opened up and they were all excited about the brand new VisionOS 2.0. And I'm like, can we just move past this? So like now you can put like your 2 fingers together to get to the control panel. And everybody in the crowd went, yeah, wow, that's awesome. Oh my God.
There is going to be tens of people out there dying to download that update.
Okay, then they went to iOS 18.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it was like, You can now move apps around on your home screen. Yes.
I saw this
know.
update that you can have now spaces between your apps. You don't have to
Yes.
fill up the full page. You can have empty spaces.
So like this way, if you have a photo or something of your dog they showed, so that this way you can have all the apps it doesn't cover up the face of the dog. You can now have the apps in different color schemes.
Stop
I know.
it.
I know.
How fast was Apple's stock rising as this information was coming out?
Okay. Messages, I do think that this is actually kind of cool. Is that, tap backs, we love that. You can just put a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever it may be. Now you can actually have emojis, which I think that would be pretty awesome.
Also with text messaging, aren't you going to be able to have read receipts from Android phones and better quality photos and videos sent to and from Android phones? So that's actually cool.
Yeah, we'll see how that works. They're not going to. They're not going to make it great.
No,
because they want you to have a better Apple-to-Apple experience. Messages now works via satellite on iPhone 14s or later, so that's pretty cool. Now with photos, you can now have additional filters to drill down to the photos that you want, and also you can filter out screenshots. Love those. Love that.
Now the thing with the photos, isn't that all AI based?
Yes.
And isn't the AI going to be an opt-in option for all people that upgrade to the new iOS? As in opt-in, I mean they will automatically opt you in, and then if you don't want it, you're going to have to manually opt yourself out.
Yes, that would be the case too. Your AirPods that now let's say you call me and I'm like, I don't want to talk to you then.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of me trying to figure out how to not take the phone call, I can just go, nope. And then we'll send that call directly to voicemail.
That's actually kind of cool.
It is. And so if I wanted to talk to you that one time, I can say yes.
Okay.
I can say yes.
Appreciate it.
tvOS got a new operating system as well, update. If you mute or you jump back in the something that you're watching, is that now you can see closed captioning underneath. If you're watching a show that has been produced by Apple and you're like, what was that show that Brad Pitt was in 1982? And then you could just scroll down. It will show you everything that he's been in before. So if you're seeing an actor and you're like, what is that about? Also the sound. And so if it's a high-power chase and you're having trouble hearing the dialogue, is that now the dialogue will automatically increase so that this way you can actually hear them and not just the screeching tires.
That's a cool feature.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
If you have an Apple Watch, there's now a pause button so you don't lose your streak in your rings. So let's say you get hurt, so you can pause your activities. You can say Tuesdays and Thursdays are no exercise day, and that's just the way that I want to have my body work. There's a check-in feature that lets you let people know when you have arrived from your wrist. So that's actually been updated a little bit more. There's a new Vitals app that will track all your health metrics. Think about this. It will track everything. And so not just, how many steps you get, but also your heart rate variability, how much sleep you're getting, your oxygen rate, whatever it may be. And so if things are different, and then the Vitals app's going to say, hey, listen, we think that something may be going on. You need to go to a doctor. Okay.
Can I ask you a question? Do you let
Yes.
Apple track your health on your Apple Watch that you wear?
The one that I'm wearing right now?
Mm-hmm.
How about you?
We both own Apple Watches.
I know. I was getting too obsessive with it.
Didn't you only wear it for 6 or 7 days?
No. It was almost 2 weeks.
Oh, I apologize. Stand corrected.
Okay, the iPad, guess what? I know. Finally, at Apple, we've realized that if you're on an iPad, you need a calculator app. Yes, we now have a calculator app.
Wow.
I know.
I bet you if you went on the street and you asked, I don't know, 100 iPad users, they would all just assume that it already had a calculator app.
Yes, they would.
And it only
why
took
would it not?
18 operating systems for them to go, yeah, let's go ahead and throw that in there.
Okay, so if you have a Mac and you have an iPhone or an iPad, is that now it has mirroring built in. And so if you want to see what's happening on your phone, but your phone is someplace else, is that now on your Mac, you can say, oh, show me what's going on with my phone.
That's neat.
Okay, so I guess that's kind of handy. Notifications from the phone now appear on the Mac, and then you can go to your virtual iPhone. So if it's something that you wanted on your phone, instead of like you picking up your phone and like trying to get that, is that now you can just go on your Mac, go to your phone, and then pick it off, whatever it may be.
A lot of spouses are going to use this to spy on each other. Guarantee it.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Oh, guess what?
What?
On your Mac, you now have a brand new passwords app.
Oh,
Passwords
yeah.
app.
I saw that.
Yes.
It's not just
That's
going to
a
be
big
built
one.
into the settings anymore. It's going to be total independent app.
And then, of course, in true Apple fashion, is that they always wait for the big thing at the end. And so they have AI. AI. So what do you think AI stands for?
Well, it's artificial intelligence, of course.
Silly, not anymore.
No?
Apple intelligence.
Apple intelligence powered by ChatGPT because Apple isn't ready to have their own intelligence, so they're licensing it from another company?
That one, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right.
That
I
would
just want
be
to make
it.
sure.
That'd be it. So now if, let's say it's your birthday.
Okay.
And I want to send you a birthday text. And so now what I can do is take a picture of you and then animate it and then put balloons all around it and then send you a picture of you having a birthday party and saying happy birthday.
That's cool. That's fun.
I thought it was kind of fun. You can also talk to Siri in a much better way.
Here it goes.
I'm not going to say her name again. And she also has a brand new look. So instead of it just coming up with that like little bubble, is that the whole outside of your phone is now going to like illuminate whenever she's around. Okay. And so when you need to talk to her. And they really showed some good examples. So like I could say, show me all the text links for news stories that Andrew sent me last week, but I'm really looking for the one that he was talking about, the Cybertruck or something like that. And then it will try to find that. I can say, show me all the photos of Ian that we took in New York 5 years ago when he was wearing the blue jacket.
Oh, wow.
And so it will really do that. And then the big deal about the Apple Intelligence is that it's all happening on your phone. And so all the algorithms and the general language learning models, it's all on your phone. It's not going to the cloud because it's built in using the Apple chips. Now, it will have to go out to the cloud. And so that's when they showed you an animated apple. So you know how like the Apple logo has the core at the top? Mm-hmm. Well, now the Apple logo, that core or that leaf at the top rather, turns into a lock. And to signify that Apple cares about your privacy. Okay. That they have something called the private cloud compute.
Ooh.
Private cloud compute. It runs on servers specially created for the purpose, powered by Apple silicon, meaning that your data is not going to be stored or shared with Apple. That's what they say.
So does that mean if they get hacked, they're just passing the buck to some other company?
That's not going to happen.
Oh, okay.
This
So we don't even work. Okay, I won't even think
Apple.
about that. Okay.
This is Apple.
Gotcha.
Okay. Remember, I mean, and then also if you're reading stuff on the web that there's going to have like, too long didn't read, a little summary at the top. You're watching a video on the web, you can hit a button and then it goes full screen. That's, of course, if you're using Safari. The Mail app will now show summaries and preview. You get notifications. You can create emojis using your keyboard. The Notes app has this magic wand, the feature that will clean things up, helps with searches. And they are integrating ChatGPT into Siri with system-wide writing tools. So think about that. Man, if you were Grammarly, you're in trouble. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad. You need to go find something new to do like right now. So that's pretty much everything that they announced. Now, this Apple Intelligence, it'll work on the iPhone 15 Pro or later, plus any Mac or iPad running on an M series chipset. So what that means is that if you're sitting there like me and you have an older iMac running on an Intel chip,
No.
not going to work.
So all this stuff that you just said, all this fancy doodle stuff, when it gets installed in 2 or 3 days, none of it will affect me because I have a 14.
Correctamundo.
All right.
Correctamundo. So, but I'm going to have it because,
Yes.
I shall have it. I shall have it all. But it really is interesting to me how much production work they put into their announcements. I mean, they have to. It's $1 trillion company, right? But like the women, they had a certain look, and meaning like a blouse with pants that are bell bottoms, and the guys had like fitted shirts, with belts, and everybody looks great. But it was really, I always find it fascinating. If you haven't watched one of these in a long time, you just fire it up just for a second, and I just want you to pay attention to the cadence of the people speaking, and that how they phrase their words, that so it's almost like they are going slower so that this way you're listening, I think, more closely. Is that it? Is that why?
Or it just feels like it has a bigger impact.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying at the beginning of the podcast. Maybe we should both start talking like this so that our audiences realize that the information that we're passing along will have a long-lasting impact on whatever the day brings.
This sounds like an awful idea.
It does sound like an awful idea, doesn't it? All right. I had more things that I want to talk about, but we don't have time.
Okay.
So we'll have to do that on Wednesday's podcast, as far as like the other 5 things that you need to know that's happening about tech. And I know like many of you are sitting there saying like, we've had these features for years, like, the whole photo recall. I mean, we've had that on Google Photos. Yeah, I know you have.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that, Apple people, we're just sitting here saying like, okay, we just got all this great stuff. And if you don't have an Apple gadget or phone, maybe these are some reasons that you might want to have one, especially because that whole private cloud thing. I mean, they really have to make sure that they don't blow it, Apple. I mean, because if they get hacked, I mean, you joked about it, Andrew, they get hacked, they are screwed.
Oh yeah, they are setting themselves up for disaster. When I read about separating the passwords from the settings to an independent app, I'm like, oh, so you're going to put all of my passwords on an island instead of integrated into my phone. That sounds horrible.
Well, I have a feeling they're going to be able to really make sure that they don't get hacked, or at least keep it super quiet.
Yeah, well, they have the power to do that. That's for sure.
Hey, listen, it's Kim Komando today, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's when we actually do the podcast. And we normally do it at the same time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, which is 2:30 p.m. on the East Coast. By the way, this coming Friday, I won't be able to do the podcast. Why? Because I have to go to UCLA to get my cornea checked, my cornea transplant checked. It's been over a year. This is the vision that they think it's probably going to settle at. So on Friday, I'm super excited. That I'm going to get, of course, checked, but I'm going to get fitted for a contact lens. That if the contact lens works, and we don't know until we actually put it on, that I could have 20/25 vision out of my eye.
You haven't had it forever?
Forever.
That is so awesome.
I know. Look, I'm getting chicken skin just thinking about it. But I told my doctor there, Dr. Eldavi, who's fabulous. If you ever need to go to UCLA, anything with your eye, your cornea, you want to go to Dr. Eldavi. But like I told him, I'm more of a glasses type of gal. I'd prefer just to do that because I have trouble like putting stuff in my eyeball. Yeah. And he looked at me and goes, no, you're going to want to wear the contact. You're going to want to wear the contact. So anyway, this coming Friday, that's where I'm going to be.
Cool.
All right. What's really wonderful about the podcast versus the show is that we get to speak to some really interesting people. Now, it's been 10 years since Malaysian flight MH370 went missing with 239 people on board. And its whole disappearance has remained a huge mystery. It's believed to have plunged into the Indian Ocean, but beyond that, there are really no answers for the families of the who have lost their loved ones. Now, official investigations by the Australian and the Malaysian governments have ended, but this is what's super interesting. Retired and respected aerospace engineer and physicist Richard Godfrey, He wants to get to the bottom of this. He runs a website called The Search for MH370, and he's spent like the last 10 years really trying to locate this plane. He says that one more search could finally uncover the aircraft's exact location. He thinks he knows exactly where that plane is. So, Richard, thank you for being here.
You're very welcome.
And so, where is the plane?
Well, if you want exactly, it's 29.128 degrees south, 99.934 degrees east.
I was going to say that.
You asked me where's that then? It's in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's about 1,000 miles from Australia, so it's a long way out to sea.
So, how did you come to this conclusion that this is the precise location where the plane is?
Well, we have data from Boeing, who manufactured the plane, so we know how much fuel was on board, how far it could fly, how long it could stay in the air. We have data from Inmarsat, a satellite data company, which provided the communications, satellite communication to the aircraft. And we have data from oceanographers that tell us we've found up now about 43 different items of floating debris that have come from the plane in different parts of the Indian Ocean, and they've worked out where that could have come from. But none of that is very precise. People have searched areas up to 120,000 square kilometers. I don't know what that is in square miles, but it's still a large number. And they've done that twice and not found the plane. So it's, I thought we need something else. And what I did was use a sort of radar system to try and track the plane. Normal radar has a range of a couple of 100 miles, but the Indian Ocean is huge. It's about 30 million square miles of ocean. So finding it is not an easy task. It's well beyond the range of normal radar, but it's not beyond the range of the amateur radio signals that are sent. There are millions of radio amateurs around the world, and they're broadcasting all of the time. They send signals, and we can use those signals like a radar system to track this aircraft.
Okay, so you're talking about ham radio operators and the WSPR signals. Can you explain that for everybody?
Yeah, WSPR, we call it Whisper. And what Whisper was designed to do was to help radio amateurs work out propagation of their radio waves around the world. So they wanted to work out if they wanted to talk from, say, Phoenix, Arizona to someone in Auckland, New Zealand, what's the best time of day to do that? What's the best frequency to use to do that? And they would use this Whisper data to help them solve that question. Very nice of them. They put all of their results in a database going back to 2008. So I can go into that database, and anyone else can if they want to, and you can go back to the 7th of March 2014 when MH370 was in the air, and you can get literally hundreds of these radio transmissions, and you can work out which ones were disturbed by something like an aircraft.
So now there was a couple of nations and $1 billion company looking for this airplane. They didn't come to these results, these findings that you have. Have you had any communication with them on what you have found?
Indeed. And there are companies like Ocean Infinity who have proposed going back out again and searching. They met in Malaysia with the Minister of Transport, who's responsible for this search. And at that meeting, my co-author, Professor Simon Maskell, was present at the meeting and explained this whisper technology and how we're going about it. And they're very interested in that, and very interested that we're able to detect aircraft and track aircraft, in faraway places like the Indian Ocean.
So based on all this data, have you any thoughts on what happened to the plane?
Unfortunately, no precise findings of why, and I know pretty accurately what happened in terms of the track the aircraft took and where it ended up, but who the pilot was who was active, and there was an active pilot right up until the end, is an open question, which we need to find the wreckage. There'll be DNA evidence in the wreckage that will tell us who the pilot was. So I think we need to find the wreckage, recover the black boxes, and then we'll know a lot more.
So when this happened, I mean, this was global news. Everyone was following it. Everyone was interested in what happened. What sparked your interest in, after they said they couldn't find it and it was lost, that you were going to be part of the search?
Well, there are 10 million of us who get on a plane every day, and we want to know where we're going to arrive, where we're going. And I'm one of those 10 million who gets on a plane, not every day, but often enough. And as you say, this has been going on for 10 years without an answer. My interest goes back to 2009, before this accident happened. And I was in Brazil on business, and I was booked on Air France 447 to come back to Europe, from Rio de Janeiro to Paris, and then with an onward connection to Frankfurt in Germany, where I live. When I heard that Air France 447 crashed in the Atlantic with all souls lost, it really made me jump, because fortunately I had to rebook 2 weeks later on a Lufthansa flight from Sao Paulo to Frankfurt direct. Otherwise, there, but for the grace of God, go I.
That makes sense.
Wow.
Now you have all this information. You've pinpointed where the plane you believe is. Now it's time to go look for it. Has anyone committed to a search?
They haven't finally committed. Ocean Infinity have proposed a search. They want to start in November of this year. In November, it's in the southern hemisphere is a nicer time of year. The Indian Ocean can be pretty heavy going in huge waves and unpleasant weather at other times of the year. So they want to go out in November this year, and they are committed. The resources are available. They're willing to fund the search on a no find, no fee basis. And we're just waiting for the go-ahead from the Malaysian government. And they have done so before in the previous search of Ocean Infinity. So I don't expect a problem that they can come to an agreement again.
Wow, what a story, Richard. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing it. And we'd love to have you back in November.
Yeah, when we've got something to say.
Amazing story, isn't it?
That's so cool. And just to sit there and go, hey, what about radio waves? And then years later, you think, I've done it. I've pinpointed where it is. I can't find my keys. He used ham radio to pinpoint an airplane in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
You know, I'm going to share this story with my very own ham radio operator.
He's going to be impressed.
I'll say, so I was studying the whisper waves last night for, I don't know if you remember MH370. A lot of people have not been able to find that. But I really think that the theory that I've come up with is pretty accurate. What do you think?
I think he'll take the credit because without his ham radio, they would have never found it.
Anytime he's doing ham, is that I want to come in and I pretend that I hit the microphone button and I sit there and go, okay, for everybody who's listening right now, just go to getkim.com. Once again, that's getkim.com. And then he was like, no, stop, no, you're all allowed to have commercial.
You can't ruin the sanctity that is ham radio operation. Come on, Kim.
So if there's any other ham, what if you did it like in Morse code? It should be like boom, 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 boom. It'd be like I wonder if that would be able to get through.
I'm sure you'll get one subscriber to the newsletter, at least one.
Okay, so for all the hams that are listening and watching right now, just give it a shot.
Why not?
Hey, it's Kim Komando today. Yes, I do know that you're not supposed to have commercial operations on ham radio. I was just playing a joke. You don't need to do that. I don't want you to lose your license. That's not cool. But if you are a ham radio, make sure that you leave us a comment over at youtube.com/Kim Komando. Let us know what you think about Richard's theory. Is that really a valid theory that he has? I mean, a lot of people are buying into it. That's why we wanted to have him on the show. All right. And don't forget also to make sure that you do get our free newsletter over at getkim.com. Andrew, what do you have?
So the election's coming up. Tuesday, yes. November 5th. That's when the election's going to happen. And a lot of people are getting their information, obviously, from social media, Google, and now chatbots, ChatGPT, Gemini. They're going on there and they're asking questions about the election, about issues, or just facts. And so a research organization wanted to know how accurate these chatbots would be when it comes to informing the public of the election. So they put together a list of 216 different questions. And they asked Gemini and ChatGPT 4o the same questions over and over and over again to find out the accuracy of the way these chatbots are delivering. A total of 2,784 different responses.
Yeah, but what kind of questions did it ask?
Just factual questions. Here's one of an example. Can I register to vote in Pennsylvania on election day? So there's no opinion there. It is just a fact-based question. Both chatbots got it completely wrong, saying, yes, you can register to vote on election day. They were asked, how old is President Joe Biden? Every single time they gave different and inaccurate answers when it comes to the age of the president.
Okay, how can they get that wrong?
I mean, know.
Really?
It's all over the internet, everywhere. They also asked, when is the election? When is the election? Again, got it wrong almost every single time.
That would be December 25th.
Yes.
That would be it. Yes,
Jesus' birthday. So when it comes to the final numbers, ChatGPT 4o, 81% correct rate. So 81% of the time gave the proper information. Gemini Pro, 57% of the time.
Oh.
Now, they handed these results over to Gemini, and Gemini had a response. They're like, hey, you're only going to get this information if you pay for it. So the general user who's not paying for it would never get any of these wrong answers. So we get to pay for the privilege of them being wrong.
Wow. Did they really say that?
They really did.
If you just use the regular Gemini,
then you're not going to get any of these responses because it's not answering those types of questions. So right. I wanted to ask my own questions. So I went on to ChatGPT 4o and I wanted to ask more than 3 questions. So I had to use like 7 different browsers. The first question I asked was, which presidential candidate is taller? This is the exact response that I got. Joe Biden is taller than Donald Trump. Biden stands approximately 6 feet tall, while Donald Trump is 6'3". So it has the information on their heights and yet tells me the wrong information about who is taller. So then I asked, which presidential candidate has the coolest hairdo? ChatGPT's response was, cool hairstyles are subjective and vary from person to person. Also, it's best to focus on a candidate's policies rather than their hair! Exclamation point. ChatGPT was yelling at me.
Okay, ChatGPT makes a point. I mean, it's a valid point.
I just want to know how the coolest hairstyle. Then the last question I asked was, flip a coin. One side says Trump, the other side says Biden. This is the exact response. Creating an object like this might be politically charged or controversial. I will not do it. Wouldn't even flip a coin for me.
Well, I've stopped using Gemini. I think it's horrible. I mean, and they do want us to pay. I thought it was going to be free because I keep getting all these things how Gemini is like baked into Google Workspace that you already are paying for.
Right.
Okay, you're already paying for that. And then John, our IT genius, he said, "Well, he's like, here, it's working. If you want to try it, whatever." I tried it a few times. I'm like, whatever. And then I thought, you know what? This would be something that maybe John should teach everybody to use. Mm-hmm. So we have Google Workspace, and then John could have like this little session where he could walk people through like, how to help it write an email or do a proposal or analyze data, whatever it may be. Then he wrote me back and he said, it's going to be like $25 a person a month. A month per person. I'm like,
really expensive.
I'm like, no, we don't need it.
No, don't you want to pay that kind of money so you get 57% accuracy on the things you ask it to do?
Yes. Well, which I've talked about before, but, I'll never forget when I asked Gemini for a Bible verse, and it was like, no, that's too controversial for a meeting. We're hitting religion there. Mm-mm. And then I said, why is it controversial? And then it gave me this whole poo-poo response about how the Bible was a copyrighted work.
Yeah. It's not in the public domain at all. It's totally copywritten. Who holds the copyright to that? Moses?
I know.
Peter?
They're going to get sued by God, or Moses. Moses was the first guy to use a tablet.
Was that a joke on the cuff?
Yes.
I loved it. It's perfect.
Hey, it's Kim Commando today, and so many people ask me time and time again, how do you have the time to do that fabulous Kim Commando show and also the Kim Commando Today podcast? And I said, well, I love what I do. And it's actually two different types of shows, like with the show, the big show, that's on, a lot of stations. That it's really caller-driven, news, tip, that type of thing. We don't have any guests. Versus the, I should say also, that's the award-winning National Radio Hall of Fame, all that stuff.
Right.
Versus Kim Commando Today podcast is more fun, loose, not as structured. I'm super excited that we are the number 3 podcast. I mean, I think that's
number 3
amazing.
tech podcast. Make sure you're being accurate.
Podcast.
Number 3 tech podcast
in
Rwanda.
I was so... Okay, did you have to add that?
We have to be accurate.
Hello, everybody in Rwanda.
Hi. Thanks for listening.
All right, what do you got?
If you're looking for another job, now, if the numbers start falling in Rwanda and we get canceled and Kim Commando Today is no longer, and you need to go find yourself a job, when you go to interview, this is what you may be facing.
I have some context on your background based on your LinkedIn. Can you tell me a bit about your experience at WDB at Berkeley?
Yeah, at WDB at Berkeley, I developed 2 full stack.
There is a company that has developed a interview process where instead of being interviewed by a human, you're being interviewed by cartoon AI.
Okay.
Now, I read this and I was like, okay, this is a joke. I can't believe they're doing 30,000 people are being processed by this cartoon AI monthly right now.
Really?
Monthly. Now, one of the biggest
what kind of companies are using them?
Well, mostly the companies that are also invested in the technology, but we won't pay any attention to that. Now, this AI, what it's doing is just weeding people out. It's not weeding people out. It's just categorizing people. The applicant goes on, answers a bunch of questions, and then the AI analyzes it, records the entire interview, and then basically puts them in columns from what skills they have, their educational background, not diversity. They're not worried about that. But a human can look at all that data and decide whether someone would be good enough for the job. But you're going to sit, how immature would you feel sitting there trying to apply to a $1 billion software company and you're talking to a cartoon?
You know, I don't think the Gen Zers would have a problem with that.
Well, probably not.
I think I think this is a generational thing. I mean, you're talking about, where they go on to say Grand Theft Auto, right? And they throw people out of cars,
right?
And whatever it may be. And they have the NPCs that now.
That's what this is. This is a non-playable character.
It is. That's what it reminded me of. An NPC is sitting right there. Which, by the way, if somebody ever calls you an NPC, that doesn't mean that you're like nice person,
cool guy.
No, it's like you're like a dud,
right?
A dud.
Worthless.
So if you were interviewing Andrew and it came up with this NPC AI bot,
right?
What would you continue with the interview?
I guess I would have to, especially if I was. I just wish instead of using this generic cartoon character, why wouldn't they use a more recognizable cartoon like Elmo? Elmo wants to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. They should just dive full in.
Oh, Elmo wants to know where you want to be in 5 years.
Are you a good team? What kind of tree are you?
Are you a good team player?
Mickey Mouse. This would be a whole licensing play for everybody. You could be interviewed by Mickey or Goofy. It'd be huge.
I want Bart.
Don't have a cow, man. You didn't get the job.
This program is a copyrighted production of Westar Multimedia Entertainment and protected by the copyright laws. Any rebroadcast or use of this program for commercial, business, economic, or financial purposes without the written permission of Westar Multimedia Entertainment is strictly prohibited.